In this fourth episode, we're thrilled to introduce Anna Atkins, a seasoned educator with a rich family history in teaching. Anna brings a unique perspective, shaped by her family's missionary work in Cuba and her own extensive experience in the classroom. Remember, our podcast is available in both English and Spanish, ensuring valuable knowledge reaches a wider audience. If you're a native English speaker and know someone that could use this information in Spanish, we've got you covered.
Hi everyone, I want to welcome you back to our podcast, Guided Growth. We're so excited for this journey. We're so excited to share with you. I am personally very excited because today we have a very special person and we're going to get to it because we have a lot to talk about. We have Anna Atkins joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking us.
Thank you for making the drive. I know it's Seattle.
Yes, it's Seattle.
It's Seattle
traffic. I grew up in New York City, and traffic there is terrible.
Yeah, as well.
And I lived in Florida, and the natives are nasty on the road. So,
well, thank you for joining us today, and let's get to it because we have a lot to talk about and not a lot of time, and we want to give people the most we can out of, the purpose of this project. We said you have so much knowledge. And we want that knowledge to go beyond the classroom, to go beyond just parent-teacher conference. We want it to go, I want to be able to share this with my neighbor. I want to be able to share this with my cousins, my friends, and share with whoever could use some tips and pointers from a teacher perspective, because many people don't know what happens in a classroom. Children get dropped off and then they get picked up, and sometimes that's it. So let's start from the beginning. What got you into teaching?
Well, I think I come from a teaching family.
Okay.
My grandparents are from Cuba, and so they were missionaries. My grandmother and grandfather would go to a little village in Cuba, and that didn't have an Adventist church, and they would open a school and enroll students, and then they would tell the parents, we're having special classes, reading classes for adults for free on Saturday, and then they would read the Sabbath school lesson.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's really cool.
And as they would share the Sabbath school lesson, eventually they would gather a group of interested people who wanted to get baptized, and when the school and the church were big enough, they would move on to the next little village.
So they were planting schools
and churches
in villages around Cuba. That is really cool. And when did you start teaching?
So I started teaching as soon as I got out of college, and I've been teaching ever since.
How many years?
I have been teaching for 43 years.
That's a journey. We're not going to get into stories because I'm sure you have hundreds of stories, but eventually we'll share a little bit of stories, but I can imagine that's quite a journey. I love the story you were sharing about one of your students when you started teaching in Cuba, I believe, right?
No, I've never taught in
Cuba. Oh, you never taught in Cuba?
I taught here. My grandparents were in Cuba. We moved to the United States when Castro came into power, and my mom tells me that they wanted to send me to a communist school, so they said we need to get her, because I was the oldest, so they need to get me out of the country.
Yeah.
So my other grandfather, my father's father, they were here in the United States, so we came to the United States. So I've gone to school here in the United States. I did speak Spanish at home, but I learned English at school and never looked back.
Yeah. You got to share a little bit of your Spanish journey on the Spanish episode, and it's quite interesting. That practice sometimes it really helps. It is your first language, but you struggle with the practice.
Yeah, it has become so. When it comes to language, the language that you are native in is the language that you think in. So I have met people who think in both. They switch back and forth. You know, I ask them,
I think that's me.
can you, do you think in Spanish? And they say, yeah, when I'm speaking in Spanish, I only think in English. So, so irregardless of what language I came in to school knowing, now I think in English, and then I have to translate.
Interesting. So let's get into the teaching part. Favorite subject?
I don't know. My favorite subject is what I'm teaching now.
What do you currently teach?
Whatever I'm teaching now. I mean, literally whatever I'm teaching.
You're at the moment kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. There are some things that make me more excited because the students seem to get more excited. So I like to teach art because the students, they want to have a strike if we skip it. So I enjoy teaching art. And for a non-mathematician, I love teaching math because the students really get very excited about being able to solve math. And I love it when they tell me, I love math. So I like teaching math.
So you've taught many subjects?
As an elementary school teacher.
Okay, we should have started there. Elementary school teacher.
I'm an elementary school teacher. You teach all subjects. You teach everything. Chief cook, bottle washer, the Band-Aid putter oner, the consultant and everything. But so you teach everything. And so I just enjoy, when we're doing social studies projects, I'm like so excited because
you've taught science,
and
PE.
when we're doing science, I have always looked for a way out of PE, but I'm teaching PE this year, and we are having a really good time. They're getting their exercise and they're learning skills. So PE is going really well this year.
Nice. That's really interesting. And a lot of our listeners are non-Adventists. We ourselves are, this is an Adventist project, but many of the people that are listening are not Adventist. And the school that you teach at is a very interesting school. It's not what public school education, elementary school is. I want to talk about that because I feel like it'll give them an idea of the other types of schools that exist out there.
So in today's world, there's a school for everybody. So our school is mostly, we are a multi-grade school. And what that means is that there is no single grade for, there isn't a second grade or a third grade. We have grades kindergarten and first in one classroom. I have grades 2, 3, and 4. And then the other teacher has 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I think the question that most parents have is, how can you possibly do that?
I have that question.
You have that question? That is a very good question.
Yeah.
But I have an answer. Here's how it works. When you are teaching and you put 2 kids in a room, you have 2 grades. Because I have never, ever, in all 43 years, met 2 children that were exactly the same, ready for exactly the same material, provided in exactly the same way.
So you and I could be 6-year-olds in a room.
Completely different.
Completely different.
So when you have a class that are all 6-year-olds, you're going to have a large class. And they're all going to be different. And you're going to have to provide for those differences. When you have a multi-grade, you have less students and they're still all different.
Of course. Yeah.
But you don't have to provide for as many. So as opposed to providing for 18, 20 students, you're providing for 12 or 13. And that makes a big difference.
Okay.
Because then you get more individualization.
Okay.
The other thing that's different is that you get, as a student, you get a chance to help other people.
True.
Because you are in fourth grade and they're in second, and you have done this. So go help.
You've been through that path.
You've been there. Go help. If you're in fourth grade, and let's say you are in fourth grade, but you really didn't get how to do that multiplication in third grade. Some of it just, you didn't get it, you weren't ready. Well, while you're sitting in that classroom and you're hearing that lesson again, that's the moment when it's like, the light bulb.
Yeah.
Because you weren't ready then, but now you're ready.
Now you're ready.
And the light bulb goes on. So you get this repetition of the old stuff. And when you are in second grade and you are ready for that multiplication, you hear that lesson and it clicks with you. So it allows kind of everybody to settle in to their needs. And it because the classrooms are not as big, it allows the teacher to focus on those
That is really
needs.
interesting. Well, and I'm even thinking, we're talking about if you're in third grade and then fourth grade, but if you're in second grade, you start hearing that lesson a little earlier.
Absolutely.
So by the time you hit third grade, you're like, I've heard that. Maybe it
heard
didn't click when I was, quote unquote, in second grade. It starts clicking in third, and sometimes it might click till you're in fourth.
It
might stick in third or till fourth, but it gives them more time for these things to stick.
And then as a teacher, finally, I know I'm going to have you for 3 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to kind of gauge how things are going because I've got you for 3 school years. So when you walk in second grade, when you walk in first grade, you're new to me. But when you walk in second and fourth grade, we're all friends. You know what's coming. I know what's coming. I know where you're at. So from day one, there's no trying to figure out where is this student. From day one, I know this is the place where you were last year. And this is where we need to go. So it saves time. In fact, in some public schools, they do something called looping.
Okay.
Where a teacher will teach a class of first graders. And then the next year, they'll follow those first graders into second grade.
Okay.
Which allows the teacher to have the same continuity that I have. Yeah. So even in public school, they found that, hey, that's a good idea. and so we're able to do that kind of looping.
Interesting. That is really cool. And it allows you, that when that second grader comes back from summer break, let's say, and now they're going into quote unquote third grade, where they need to pick up.
Right.
Where they left off, where and it's not like you're just handing them over to someone else without any context of where they're at. That is really cool. Yeah, and like I said, I know it's a different type of school, and I've always wondered, I'm like, how do they do it? When I heard that like a teacher teaches different grades, I'm like, how are you doing it? I come from public school system, so I was handed over kind of thing, or sometimes not even handed over because I switched too many schools as I was growing up. So that is really neat. It's a really cool system. I'm sure a lot of people out there, this is the first time they're ever hearing about something like this. Anything I see you kind of wanted to share before we move on? No. Okay. I want to hear a story going back to your first years in teaching for 40 plus years ago. Any stories that you remember that really clicked for you, like in those first couple years?
Only by the grace of God am I still in teaching, because my very first year of teaching was a total disaster. I went to school and I learned how to make the most beautiful bulletin boards. I made a bulletin board once with water in it.
What?
I can't even remember how I did it.
But you did it.
And then I walked into real kids in the classroom. It was wild. There was papers everywhere. There were children on top of the desk. There were children under the desk. There were children everywhere. What a disaster.
What grades
I was
were you
teaching second, third, and first, second, and third grade.
Oh my.
It was a disaster. And school starts the middle-ish of August, the end of August. And then there's Labor Day. And I was teaching in Ohio. And I flew home to New York City.
Okay.
And when I got there, I told my mother, I'm not going back, and you can't make me. They needed an intervention to get me to go back.
Oh, how long was that? Like a couple weeks?
No, I went back.
Okay.
I went back. I went right back. Yeah. But I only went back because the superintendent said she would be there when I got back.
Yeah.
So she didn't leave me alone. She was wonderful. Nice. She got me organized. She helped me to understand how to work this system that, I can talk about it, how wonderful it is now. But at the moment when I was brand new, I was like, what? I can't do this. Yeah. So it was that's my beginning story. So I'm here to say that no matter what it is that you're confronting, if there are people out there and you're not alone, God will help you. You just need to find a way.
I think that was really key, right? That you were not alone. I mean, the fact that the superintendent said, "I'm gonna walk in the classroom with you."
Yeah, absolutely,
and help you get started, because you're fresh out of college. I'm sure you had teaching practice, but nothing like that scenario.
Absolutely not. The teaching practice I had this, teacher with lots of experience, with a perfect classroom, with perfect students, and my students were nothing like that. Yeah. So it was a shock, but now I think teaching is the best, because every time, if you've ever had a problem and you've had to ponder how to solve this problem, and then you have that eureka moment, I got it. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, as a teacher, I get that eureka moment sometimes multiple times a day.
Wow.
Because every time you teach something and you see somebody struggle with it, and then they're sitting with you and they're like, oh, I get it. Or I've had students, the way that we used to teach division to fourth graders was a task that would take probably from January to sometime in March. Fortunately, we don't do it that way anymore. Okay. So now it takes me 2 weeks. But it used to take a long time. And I can remember a student who wasn't getting it. And I finally said to her one day, I don't know what to do. I have taught you every way that I know how.
You knew,
Does anybody else have any ideas? And she didn't get it. And then one day she's sitting at her desk and she goes, Mrs. Atkins, what is it? I thought she got hurt. She said, I get it.
Wow. Yeah. And I can't imagine like being in a classroom and you just see light bulbs going off, right? It's every single day, especially with the little ones.
Every day. And so it's a great feeling. Yeah. Why wouldn't you go back the next day?
Interesting. Something really interesting, obviously our listeners know, but you don't. You're the first elementary teacher that we're interviewing, that we're talking with. So far, we've had 3 high school teachers. So it's really interesting coming out of talking to 3 high school teachers. And, we've talked about why they enjoy high school. And now hearing you on the elementary school year, especially the earlier years.
Yeah. I will tell you, though. So I have taught preschool through university classes. I've taught everything. And I prefer the little ones, and I will tell you why. Okay. Because as a teacher, you see what's important to me is those light bulb moments, those moments that you're enjoying what you're doing. And when you teach preschool, you can walk into a classroom and you can say, boys and girls, today we're going to study dirty socks. And all those 4-year-olds go, yes!
Okay,
Now,
tell me, what is dirty socks?
Exactly what you heard, dirty socks.
Oh, literally.
Stinky, literally dirty socks.
Really? Okay.
But they don't care. They're excited.
Yeah.
Learning is fun.
Yeah.
They want to learn. I've taught high school. I can walk into a high school classroom and say, young people, I have to tell you that last night I read the most beautiful poem. It was so beautiful. I wanted to cry. I wanted to laugh. It was the most magnificent thing. And I want to share that with you. And the very best student in the class, the one who only gets straight A's, will raise, it's always her, it will raise her hand and say, will it be on the test? And that's it. If it's not on the test, I don't care.
Oh.
There's no joy. There's no fun.
And okay, I see it. Okay.
There's no excitement.
Okay.
The years I taught high school, eventually the kids got to know me, and eventually there was excitement. I'm not sure it was real, but they knew that if they didn't say, "Oh, our favorite part was," Mrs. Atkins would get sad. So
Interesting.
I like the idea of teaching people who want to learn. And the little kids want to learn.
Yeah.
No one has taught them that school isn't fun yet. And so we're all there having fun.
It's fun. Yeah, school is fun.
School
yeah,
is
for
fun.
the little ones. Interesting.
But-
So therefore learning is fun too.
Yeah, school is fun, learning is fun. Whereas as you get older, even when I taught a university class, it isn't fun. It's, because I need this credit, because I'm trying to get a degree, because I'm a good student. It's a task, it's a chore. I just want to know, tell me what to do, and I will do it right. I'm not here to have fun. So I want to have fun.
Yeah, nice. I love that. As we're wrapping up with our chat today, in your many years of teaching, what have you seen evolve, in your teaching style, maybe?
My teaching has to change all the time, every day, depending on who's in front of me. Because my job is to find you where you are and bring you to whatever is out there for you. So I'm always on the lookout for what can I do that I didn't do before. And since I've always been on the lookout for learning something, I've got lots of tools. Oh, this didn't work. I've got another tool to try to get that. I think that you just have to be willing to go out there and find what is going to motivate, what is going to excite your audience. It's just like doing a podcast. Interesting. My job is to make learning and make Jesus fun and exciting. And
that's awesome.
And if you're having a good time, then you're going to want to stay.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. And something else I was thinking about right now is, again, just with all your years and experience, I'm a huge techie. I'm a techie person, but when I was in school, just recently, I walked into the local high school. I walked in and I was just blown away by the amount of technology in the classrooms. I was like, we didn't have no smart boards or none of that stuff. How does technology play a role in your classroom or as you've progressed in all these years?
Well, technology is fantastic.
Okay.
And it allows me to differentiate, to individualize, to make school a place where your needs are being addressed more in the moment. So I always want to address the needs of my students, but it's a whole lot harder to address the needs of a student when I have to make a photocopy of something. One summer I taught at a Sylvan Learning, and they had like 3 million workbooks, and you would test the student, and then you would say, you had this code thing where it would say, problems that look like these are found in this book, and this book, and this book.
Okay.
I don't have to do that anymore because we have programs that allow me to say, so today I gave my students a reading test that shows how fluently they read a passage at grade level and how well they can answer questions. I gave the test today. I looked at their scores today. I noticed that some students were having trouble with fluency. I went to another program.
Oh, wow.
And I added some fluency questions to their program. So
you're customizing.
2 weeks, we're going to take the same test and we're going to see if what I did, if the medicine that I prescribed worked.
To help with their fluency.
Right. Did we improve the fluency? If perchance in 2 weeks, I see that the medicine didn't take, then I know that I'm going to use this other thing. So I can keep a test, checking. Are you learning what you're supposed to be learning? And B, I can give very pointed prescriptions to your specific needs, and that's what the technology helps me.
Allows.
That's one thing that technology allows me to do. I mean, when you have a smartboard or a TV, I can capture your attention because you're not going to learn anything if I can't get your attention. But I can play 30 seconds of something and get you asking questions and thinking, and so
that's really cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this information. I'm sure parents are loving this kind of stuff, getting to hear the teachers' experiences, getting to hear what happens in the classroom, the different teaching styles. And before we wrap up, actually, what is one tip or pointer you want to give to parents out there that are listening to this?
Okay, so if you're a parent, the best thing that I can give you, short, is I'm going to teach you a word. It's 2 words, but it's really 1 word. It's called growth mindset. And the idea of growth mindset is that a person with growth mindset believes that everything is a challenge and conquerable with practice and effort. It isn't now. The opposite of that is fixed mindset. And in a fixed mindset, you believe that you have a certain amount of smarts, and if you can't do it, you're never going to do it.
Interesting.
The research says that if you know, all you have to do is be told about growth mindsets, that you do better in school than if you never heard about it. So in my classroom, we talk about growth mindset all the time. We are always discussing about what does it feel like to have growth mindset. When you sit and you say, I can't, that's fixed mindset. So let's have a growth mindset.
I love that.
And as parents, you can instill that in your child. Each parent has that ability.
Yeah. If your child sees that you're always on that growth mindset, that it's also kind of like the forever learner kind of thing. You're always growing, then that kind of gets passed down.
And it isn't just about that. It's about anything. It's, I don't know how to cook, but I'm going to practice and I'm going to learn. This is not working. This is wrong. And it was wrong yesterday. And it's still, but I'm not giving up. I have perseverance. So those kinds of things, it's what makes a good student.
Awesome. Well, Anna, thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for these kind words. Thank you for the tip. I'm definitely keeping that one to myself. And I hope many of you take it with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope you're enjoying this podcast. And let us know if you have any questions. Let us know what types of topics and questions you want to ask teachers in the future? What kind of what do you want to know? What do you want to hear from teachers? Let us know, and we will see you or talk to you on the next episode.